Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Lean Publishing tip of the day. Today, we're going to be talking about how to choose a title for your book. Just as usual, I'll start with a little bit of housekeeping. You can find an associated blog post for every one of these live streams on leanpub.com/blog. If you don't see the blog post there on the kind of main blog page, you can click the magnifying glass and search for some of the terms that you're seeing in my screen share here, and you should be able to find the article pretty well. We also have an author help center with over 1,000 articles in it, last I counted. These articles are all sort of largely based on interactions that we've had with authors, asking us questions or making suggestions and giving us their advice and things like that, and us giving them advice as well. So you can find things about, if you're like, well, where do I add my book title to my book or something like that? Well, you might find an article about that. How can I change it? Things like that. Can be found in our Author Help Center as well. These live streams are also recorded, and they end up on our YouTube channel as a playlist called Tip of the Day. If you like these, learning about a little bit every day about self-publishing, and in particular self-publishing on Leanpub, we highly recommend that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and you kind of like and leave comments and things like that. You can also email us at hello@leanpub.com and ask us to cover something in Lean Publishing Tip of the Day if you want to do that. Yeah, we always love feedback. So please don't hold back. So choosing a book title, we recently did one of these live streams about choosing a book cover. This article is kind of similar in sort of spirit. Choosing a book title is obviously one of the most important things you're going to do when you're self-publishing a book. So you obviously want to take that decision very seriously. The first thing that's going to happen if one thing you might do is go out into how should I title my self-published book? You might try ChatGPT, you might try a Google search, something like that. One thing you're going to find is that there are going to be people out there who are going to tell you that, oh, there's like kind of a science to choosing book titles. And it's like, I really don't sort of normally go in for that kind of advice. If you were publishing 1,000 books, you might want to sort of do some science on your title selection. But if you're an individual author, you just don't really you're not going to be making that many decisions about what title to give to your book. One of the reasons I say this is don't worry about if you fail to find the formula for the perfect book title. There's no such thing. But that doesn't mean you can't make an informed decision. And just like the advice we gave for book titles or for book covers, one thing that we recommend you do is you go to Amazon, if you're writing an English language book in particular, and do a search for your category or your genre if you're writing in fiction. So in this case, I've done a search for business strategy books. Let's say you're writing a book on business strategy. You can kind of, the sponsored ones are interesting to look at the top because you can see what titles people are paying to promote. That might be an indication of what you both either want to do or don't want to do. But you can scroll down and you can see some bestsellers and things like that. One thing you'll note, for example, about these strategy books is they all have the first three have strategy in the title. That might be just because of the way the search works, which is a really important point to know if you're thinking about how people are going to be finding your book. One thing to note also about that actually leads me to, I won't digress too long, but there's algorithms about how things show up in searches. That's true on Amazon. It's true on basically any website or search site or whatever. My recommendation personally is don't try and chase the algorithm. Think about it, try and make an informed decision. But there's people who kind of professionally watch this kind of stuff all day long, every day, and you're not going to be able to compete with them. So just be smart, be informed, and make your decision that way. So you can see that, as I said, if we're searching for business strategy books, they either have a lot of the results, the top results, either have strategy in the book title itself or in the subtitle. Don't ignore the subtitle. The subtitle is a really important part of what people will learn about your book just from looking at the cover or from looking at the title, like here. Then I'm sort of hovering over the middle of the page. And now you can see that, now that there's books that are showing up in business strategy, they also have the word business in them. Here's one called The Art of Strategy. Not so surprising. Very famous author Michael Porter, the book Competitive Strategy. Seven Power is the Foundations of Business Strategy is this one. So anyway, oh yeah, here's actually this. Seth Godin is a famous kind of person who knows how to sell things and get attention. His book is called This Is Strategy. And of course, since he's so famous, his name is bigger than the title of the book. One day maybe we'll all be there. But anyway, there's Business Model Generation, a book that I actually have myself. Haven't seen that in a while. So anyway, one thing to do is to look for books titles that are bestsellers and like recent bestsellers or timeless bestsellers, I suppose, in your area. Another thing you can do, if you're going to be, obviously, if you're watching this, you're probably a Leanpub author, or you're going to be someday, or you're going to give it a try. One thing you can do is you can go to our homepage at leanpub.com, and you can check the categories. At least for now, they're here. We're doing a site redesign, so a lot of this might change. But so one thing you might want to do if you're looking here is say, look for, imagine someone's you're writing a book, a computer science book. Click here to see what the sort of top selling titles in this is bestsellers last week is selected here. You can see Andrew Burkhoff's got this very, very clever and very successful 100-page something book title kind of tactic that he's chosen. It's very successful. There's nothing too much to learn here really, but you can get a sense of what books are performing well on Leanpub recently. You can also, of course, choose the language here, and you can choose other kind of categories, data science. And of course, one thing you'll note from seeing Andre's books show up here is that books can show up in more than one category on Leanpub. You can choose a number of categories. We don't really have any data around strategy around that or anything like that about choosing categories, but just choose some categories. One thing to note about the categories that you do choose is that they show up on your book landing page, but they also show up as hashtags in social media posts. So if you opt in to our book discount sales, which you can do on the pricing page for your book, there's another one of these videos about that. If you opt into those discount book sales, then potentially your book may be included in one of those sales at a discount with a discount coupon link. And when that happens, your book may end up in a queue of automatic social media posts that we post on. Currently, I believe it's Mastodon and X. That may expand at some point, but you might see posts about your book, and then these categories show up as hashtags. So that's something to think about. But that's a digression. We're here to talk about titles. Let me go back to the main page, the main blog post for this video. Another thing you can do, of course, is just kind of use your imagination, do an online poll. I'm writing a book. Which of the following three kind of titles do you prefer? See if you get any feedback that way. Ask your friends and family, obviously, for feedback. Ask your colleagues for feedback on potential book titles. Don't bother them too much. And when you do ask, sort of present the options clearly and try not to cloud it with, this one's my favorite or something like that. Just ask people for their feedback. Now, at a little bit more of a kind of sophisticated level, if you have a book budget, a budget for your book project, and we hope you do, it can really help in lots of different ways. You might want to spend some of that budget doing tests of book titles. Now, there's lots of different ways to do that, but the kind of most conventional way that comes to mind is to A/B test the titles. So what that means is you kind of you buy an ad promoting your book with one title, and then you buy an ad promoting your book with that same title, but with one word changed, say, and you see which of these ads works best. How do you know that the ad actually worked? Someone clicked on it. And so what you want to make sure before you spend any money on this is that you figure out, unless you're willing to just sort of dive in, you're going to want to make sure if you're, say, buying ads on Facebook, and you want to do an A/B test, you might want to do a little looking into how that actually works on that particular platform. If you budget something that imagine you're not going to be worried about losing that amount of money for your first sort of attempt at this. But anyway, what you want to do is you want to have it in a sense, all that really matters to you at this stage is that which of the ads got more clicks. the question of where the ad should take people. Well, if you've created a book on Leanpub and you haven't published it yet, you actually do get a landing page that you'd like a public web page with your book title and your name on it, and you can actually add the book cover image and all kinds of other information about the book. Um, and then people can actually sign up to be notified when the book is published. So and this is like a really cool, very interesting feature, which I should actually cover in another one of these videos relatively soon. But anyway, if people go to that landing page, then they can potentially sign up to be notified when the book is published, which is great for you, right? Because now you're building a list of people who can be notified when your book launches for the first time, and that's really great. You might be asking, well, what if the title, like if I'm A/B testing, people might click on the link and go to the landing page, and then the title of the book on the landing page won't be quite the same as the one in the ad. That's fine. I think most people kind of understand how this kind of stuff works these days, or they might think, oh, that might be an old ad and the author changed being creative and changed the name of the book since they bought that ad, something like that. I wouldn't worry about that too much. The example I give here of an A/B test, 10 things I wish you could have one. If you're writing a book, a self-help or personal transformation book, 10 things I wish I knew when I was 19. You could try an alternate title, The Things I Wish I Knew When I Was 19. I'm not sure why that's the example that came up in my mind when I was writing this blog post, but that's the one that came up. Yeah, and so change one word, see how things go different. So high level, the main thing is when you're choosing a book title, look for bestsellers in your subject area or genre, recent bestsellers on the big platforms. Probably that's going to be Amazon is the first place you're going to go for that. If you're writing an English language book for an English language audience, you can do an online poll. You can ask your friends and family, and don't worry about finding the kind of scientific formula for the right title. I personally don't believe that such a thing exists, so you shouldn't try and find it. But try and be informed and try and get some feedback from people about your book title. And also, of course, remember that you can actually change your book title at any time. If you're buying ads, if your book is published and you're buying ads, that's probably, you probably don't want to be changing your title anymore at that point. But while your book is unpublished, you actually, might want to try different titles out on your book landing page and see, how many people they kind of convert to signing up to being notified when your book is actually published. So that's our Lean Publishing tip of the day about choosing a book title. If you came in late on the live stream, you can find it on our YouTube channel at Leanpub, and you can just look for the tip of the day playlist. There's a growing number of these there. You'll probably find some more that are interesting to you if you found this one interesting. If you did find this one interesting, please like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. Please note that if you're also interested in getting these tips of the day in written format every weekday in an email, we have an email newsletter called the Lean Publishing Daily Newsletter. You can sign up for this on any of these blog posts, or if you go to our website at leanpub.com, you'll find a banner near the top where you can sign up for the Lean Publishing Daily email newsletter. So thanks very much, everyone, for watching this live stream today.